I'm saying, okay, oh yeah, Joni Mitchell's Blue.
Here we are.
Number 5. Oh, wow. She poured her soul on it, and I'm going.
Here we go. Episode 238B of Tales with TR. Here we are with Terry Ryan Sr. We've already been talking. I figured I'd press record. We're talking about some of the best albums of all time. Now, I brought up Penny Lane, and I often talk about on here how we go out and we go to Fred's Records just down the street, my favorite record store in Canada. Well, in the world, really. It's close to home, and I've gone there my whole life. So we make a point to get an album a week. And we got Paul Simon last week, but the week before that, it was Beach Boys' Pet Sounds. Now, this is rated fairly high. So that guy, and my dad and I get the lists, like the Entertainment Weekly list, the Rolling Stone lists. And, you might make it. Yeah, a lot of these are. So the same albums will hover around the top. It's all subjective, but they're always going to be around there. So we were just talking about some of our favorites.
Notorious by Biggie Smalls, number 1.
Yeah. It's all subjective, but usually what ends up happening is that, you can't really argue the greatness of the first 20 or 30 or whatever it is, whatever you're into. There are real important albums. So we stumbled upon talking about What's Going On, which I never talk about on here. I don't know why. I'm not into Marvin Gaye to everything, but I love that song and that album. I don't always talk about, and I really should, because even on a bad year, that's always rated in the top 10. And last time it was rated, I think, number 1 or pretty close. So Senior, I don't talk about that album much. What would people, give me a sales pitch? Why should people listen to What's Going On?
Well, number 1, it was written in the peak, I'm pretty sure, of the Vietnam War, and a lot of it is anti-war, and mercy, ecology, what's going on. He got that idea. His brother went to Vietnam and came back from Vietnam, and he said, and it was a line his brother said to him. He said, "Marvin, what's going on?" And he wrote the song about it. And it's just, if you put it on and just let it side A, side B, it follows a sort of a line that you can one segues into the other, and there's the whole idea of war and violence and whatever, it's pervades the album, but it's the melodies and, of course, Marvin Gaye, just the singing ability. But it is a great album, I got to say that. Pet Sounds, I don't get. I know it's good. It's very good. Like 3 or 4 songs on it I really like. But
when you say you don't get,
I don't think it warrants for a full 12. I don't think it holds up over the whole album.
Well, what we're saying, give it context. Because, wait. Just wait, I got one microphone. When he's saying Pet Sounds, because it's often rated in the top 5, okay? But when you say it, you don't get, that's what you don't get. It's a good album. I mean, you can see the album.
Yeah. I think it's a good album, not a great album. But if you're going to put it number 2, it's a great album of all time.
Yeah. And it was often on that list, and and a lot of them it's put up there like with Sgt. Pepper. So us being Beatles fans, but pretty objective ones. But the thing is, the Beach Boys were important. So what album by the Beach Boys would you put higher than that? Because I think that goes along with it too, right? They were important at that time.
The only Beach Boys album. What do you want to put on? 15 big ones, or Surfin' Safari, or Little Deuce Coupe? I mean, come on. Now Good Vibrations. Brian Wilson showed his genius there for sure. Good Heroes and Villains. I really like those. But in terms of early Beach Boys, absolute Chuck Berry ripoffs. I mean, Surfin' Safari, that's just a ripoff from, I forget. It's almost direct.
But I mean, okay, no, and especially how it starts. But I almost take it's so direct, it's an homage, I think, right? It's taken off of Johnny B. Good. Fun, you're talking about.
I tell you a song that I do love, and Brian Wilson said it was the greatest song he ever composed.
I'm going to guess God Only Knows.
No, McCartney thinks that's their greatest song. Now, Wilson did say, he commented on that. McCartney thinks it's the greatest song ever. But the one that Brian Wilson, I read this, said the greatest song he ever did was, and having said that, I forgot. I got to give me a minute, and it's a beautiful song.
Good Vibrations? No.
Not
Wouldn't it be nice?
No, not wouldn't it be nice? It's sort of a slower harmony laden.
Wait, are you talking about what is it on Pet Sounds? So that aside, are you because I do like the Beach Boys and I think they were influential. And do you like harmonies and you don't like the Beach Boys? It's
No, I'm not saying that. Like I can listen to their greatest hits or 15 best songs are really, really good. But if you're going to they put out like a gazillion albums. Like I will pick out Pet Sounds only in terms of their albums, nothing else. Well, one I think of, and it got no it got great critical praise, but it didn't, well, Smile didn't really get released per se. Is a one called Holland that I think they did years and years ago. Holland, and it's got, I don't think any hits on it, but it's sort of I think it's a great album. So there you go.
So maybe Pet Sounds is rated so high because other people voting are their peers, especially during, I mean, they're still alive. So are the people voting. And they were such an important group that you got to pick something. And that's really the only album that you could pick to be in a creative album like that. But I mean, if you take, you don't think they're innovative in the way they were writing their song. I mean, they might be. But Brian Wilson is largely who I'm talking about here.
Vibrations and Heroes and Villains is totally creative. But if you look at their early, Keisha records,
boy band stuff.
Yeah, it's the same thing, really. And until it's like Mike Love gets mad at Brian Wilson because Brian Wilson is doing Good Vibrations and Mike Love doesn't understand it because he's a moron. That's come out, and to this day he feels he's been wronged. But he says, Brian, follow the formula. And here's Brian Wilson, a true genius, saying, Mike, I don't want to write about girls and cars and surfing.
Now, that being said, so if this at all intrigues the audience here, you should check out, did you see the movie Love and Mercy?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
And I thought it was done well. John
Cusack.
John Cusack, whom I love, did a great job. And I thought it was a really good movie. I did.
Is Juan Soto worth the money?
Of all the people around, he certainly is. That much. I'm glad. No, I did like him. I can't condemn him because I'm a Yankee fan and he jumped. But the money they saved, they've signed Max Fried. They've signed 2 or 3 other really good players that they would not have signed.
Who, the Yankees, you mean?
Yeah. Well, Max Fried, 200 and something million. And Soto's got 700. So there's 4 excellent players. No, I hope he doesn't do well. He's gone with the Mets.
It can't age well, though. 10 years, 5 years from now, he's going to be a DH.
But that goes with anyone. Hockey is doing it, but they get all their money up front. If you look at the contract,
hockey's doing it.
The last 5 years, they're getting paid $1 million, $2 million because they get it all up front. And they know they're not going to be as productive going into their twilight years, and they're not. It's like it's done everywhere. It's done in soccer, any sport. To get the best, you got to pay.
Hockey does do it, but I even though it's relative money because it's a lot less. But even on that term, I just like 700 odd. I know what you mean, but 500 odd would have been considered an overpay by some people.
But if someone was going to get that money, it was him. He deserved it. Now, I'm not saying 700, but if you were to pick a number out of the air and say, okay, this is the max number, which guy around right now available, you got to go with Soto. Now, I would have been $1 billion, but he's the guy. If you're going to give $1 billion, it's going to be him.
Well, I can see Ohtani because I think the marketing worldwide would be a little bit more. I don't think people all over the world are buying Juan Soto jerseys, but I think they're buying
Ohtani. Probably the elephant in the room. Ohtani, arguably, if he can do it can't do it 1 or 2 years, but he's already got an MVP in the American League and the National League. I don't know how many times that's been done. Maybe once.
Yeah, they already got their championship.
I think Frank Robinson might have done it with the Cincinnati Reds and the Baltimore Orioles. Very few people have won MVPs in both leagues. If he can do this for the next 6, 7, 8 years, because you got to go 10. You got to go 10. He's right there for the greatest player ever. How can he not be? He's going winning 20 pitching. I mean, Babe Ruth did it, but 120 years ago, 110 years ago.
No, I totally agree. I was just
And not only that, stealing. He steals everything. Everything.
Yeah.
And I'm a Mantle fan to the core, but not even Mantle or Mays. And Mays did it all. And I mean,
closer to me. Well, yeah, I got stretcher. I got one microphone.
50 home runs, 50 odd stolen bases, 100 and something RBIs, 290, 300 batting average. I don't know. What's more complete? Well, he drinks a dozen Coke Zero. I don't know. But I mean, that's the only thing that someone can outdo him in.
Your favorite Christmas song? Now, I'm going to guess. I have no idea what the answer to this is going to be. I'm going to guess either Fairy Tale of New York from the Pogues or Father Christmas by the Kinks. What?
No, not even close.
Father Christmas, give us some money?
That's all right. No, Fairy Tale of New York. That's the work of genius.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, though. What is your favorite?
No, that would be, and I never thought it. I thought you were thinking, I was thinking more along the lines of Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree. But no, that would be it. It would be Fairy Tale of New York. Because it's Kirsty MacColl, who got killed, obviously.
For those that don't know, Shane McGowan, who just passed away, and the Pogues are, I mean, if you don't know who I'm talking about, you got to do a deep dive. These guys are some of the best. And Kirsty MacColl. That's the key there is that Kirsty MacColl isn't in on every song. She was a guest.
Used to be with Fairport Convention.
Yeah, she's huge.
But she's British, but it's Irish. And around my household growing up, be a lot of arguing, not really physical violence or anything, but mom and dad fought over money. And dad didn't make much money. But when you hear the line, "You scumbag, you maggot, you cheap, lousy fat, happy Christmas, me arse. I thank God it's our last." Oh, I think of mom and dad. And that's a very Irish term, right? Not ass. American. Happy Christmas, me arse. I thank God it's our last. And the boys from the NYPD choir were singing Galway Bay. It's beautiful. It's just and then
the bells are ringing out for Christmas Day.
At the end, he loves her again. I love you, baby. Can't wish to see another. It's so moving. It's so moving.
I think so too. I don't think there's
a genius too, a drunken genius. But he, so was James Joyce, and so was the guy who wrote what's that? I shall not go. Gentle into the night. Died at a bar in New York. Drank himself to death. Yeah, Irish poet. Anyway, yeah. No, he's same thing. They drink. Obviously, they drink a lot, right?
Favorite. Now, some of these are coming from fans that knew you were coming on. I threw it on my Instagram story. Yeah. So this one comes from Shane. Shane lives in Lethbridge, and he wants to know favorite book you've read lately.
Whoa.
Now, Shane did this talk. He bought my book, and he loves Theoren Fleury's book. So he probably, if it's anything hockey, let him. But outside of hockey, no. But if you've read anything good hockey, it seems to me Shane's into hockey.
No, I've said before, I'm sort of an eclectic when it comes to reading. I read 20 books at a time. I know it's wait a minute, this is crock. But the way I know, you might say, well, how can you remember? I don't know. It's the way my brain works. But on my bed, I have 20 books. Right now, I've got autobiography of Marilyn Monroe. I've got Columbus's voyages. I've got Charles Dickens. I've got Galileo. Yes, that's how I do. But normally I'll read 10 pages. I got a bookmark. I'll put it in. I'll lay it down on the bed, and I'll take the next book. I got one on Chinatown, the making of Chinatown with Jack Nicholson. I've got the one on, I love a historical character. He's reviled, but he was brilliant, Richard Nixon. And anyway, so that's how, in terms of the one I'm most enjoying, I'm really enjoying the one I'm reading on Columbus. He went on. People think he just took one. He took 4 voyages, and he died pretty well cast aside. He was revered. He had everything, but you can trace back the slavery. You can trace back the maltreatment of the natives to Columbus. He was the first that made the landfall. Now, Magellan had made the first what they call around the world voyage, but Magellan died halfway on around. His crew, 20. He started off at about 250, sailing into Bristol Harbor at the end of like 2-3 years, 20 people. Magellan had died. But the first guy who made basically landfall and natives and trading and looking for the gold for Isabella and Philip of Spain was Columbus, and you trace it back, and he died anonymity cast aside the way he should have died, because he wasn't, in terms of history, he wasn't a good guy. And I was glad because I recently saw a documentary on him too, so I know it's coming. But he died. Everyone, no one wanted anything to do with him. Put it that way.
McD.
What's up?
Look at this. It's McD from Shoresy, everybody. He's calling. So I'm literally recording right now with Senior. So I got Senior as my guest.
Yeah, we're having. Hey, it's happening. What's going on, Ryan? Where are you calling from? Where are you calling from? Cambodia?
Live from Thornhill, Ontario.
Oh yeah, you gotta love that. You gotta love that.
Got it.
How was Christmas?
Senior, you're on here. You're on here.
I'm on air
on my
here.
podcast. Yeah.
It's a Two Stooges show. It's a Two Stooges show.
How was it?
I wouldn't expect anything less. Well, I'll be tuning in now.
Oh yeah.
Hey, what's up today?
What's up today? I'm doctors. I'm just going to doctors. Nothing big, nothing scary. Just ticking some boxes off.
I'm going to see Seinfeld January 12th in Montreal, and then the next week, 16th, I'm in Toronto.
Okay, well, you come over.
Yeah, of course. We got a lot of catching up to do, and you got to get. I got some games going. I just got Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and get Red Dead Redemption fired up. We'll do a bounty.
Alrighty.
Okay, buddy. I'm gonna get
McD with 80s for NHL. So anyone who's listening, let's go.
Oh, we're gonna get bombarded. Yeah, I'm T Ryan 20.
All right.
Okay, yeah, we got to get back on the Chell, by the way. Okay, I'll call you after this. I got to fit about 20 minutes left with scene. Love you, buddy.
You got a great one. All right, take care.
My mind it's always thinking whatever, and I love knowledge. That's why I watch YouTube. I'm going from all over the place, but I just love learning.
Figure out when I signed you in, by the way. You get it now?
Perfectly. I was walking the trail yesterday because, as not everyone knows, but I try to walk for an hour and a half a day. 72 keeps me above ground, whatever. I said to myself, who are the 10 people in history that you would love to meet? And I thought, and I went through them, and number one, not because I'm super religious, I believe in something hereafter, but not this organized masses and churches and bullshit. I went through that with the Christian brothers, but I do believe, in something. And I'm not an evangelical, I'm not whatever, but I'm an historian. I love Jesus. I'm saying, man, this guy, whoever it was, and it's, you can say what you want. There was no Jesus. There was. It's Tacitus, Suetonius. There are Roman historians at Crestus now is mentioned. Wow, he was number one. Caesar, Napoleon, Hitler, absolutely. Newton, Einstein, and trying to think.
I love how you just invented this question. This is pretty intriguing, though. You'd want to talk to all those people.
I'd love to go to dinner with them and find out what's going on. Who else was it? Now it's about 7 or 8.
We're tossing Hitler around, so I know but obviously for knowledge, for historic, yeah.
Not because I just
feel like you got to qualify it nowadays.
What you're thinking of, Anyway, but that's if anytime you get, it would just be interesting. For example, and I thought them, and
I'm surprised,
I think they're pretty accurate.
but I'm surprised that someone that's so into. So you're thinking really like monumental people in history, which I'm not surprised by because you're history.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised there was no musician or hockey player in there.
No.
Or not hockey player, even athlete.
No.
Because to you, those are like icing on the cake to a nice little society that we have, but they're not monumental in world history. So like Beethoven or none of them would come into it.
Well, yeah, Beethoven might, and I never really thought of that. Or
Michelangelo, Beethoven, right? Mozart.
But Caesar, man, Julius Caesar. Well, Jesus, right off the bat, Julius Caesar, Napoleon. I don't know. I'm picking Napoleon in front of Michelangelo. I know you're going to say that's blasphemy. I don't know. When you think of Napoleon, that's anyway. And Newton. I mean, how can you argue Newton and laws of physics that Einstein learned from? Whatever. But it's an intriguing question.
What about Charles Darwin?
Yeah,
Speaking of Charles,
I never thought of him, but yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, he did it all. I mean, a lot of people put him in the top 5 ever. Just what he did, what he proved.
Not that I ever thought of this question. I mean, you just came up with that on your own. I guess top 10 people that you'd like to interview. It's a great question. It's a full. You could have 5 podcasts and not get to the end. Let's say, as far as artists, would Charles Dickens be in there? Would any writer?
I'm sorry. Didn't I say Dickens?
Oh, I didn't know.
Well, Dickens too. It was. Yes, I did. Yeah, Dickens was there. I think he's the only writer that I would. Yeah, but I mean, Charles Dickens is pretty.
Now, of those, wasn't a couple of those Renaissance painters were also scientists, right?
Yeah,
like who am I?
There's an argument.
Da Vinci.
Da Vinci was, and Michelangelo knew a lot about. Most people probably say Michelangelo. I don't know why I say Michelangelo, but Da Vinci was more of the. He's credited with vaguely the parachute, the submarine, the he's got in his writings that Bill Gates bought for like $150 million. The Codex, it's called a Codex Sinaiticus or something. Anyway, it's the actual book, whatever, that Da Vinci's writings. And they actually had a triangular parachute, and Da Vinci wrote whatever, and they had a guy invent one. I think it was in Italy, and actually jumped out, worked perfectly. Not your traditional circular, worked perfectly. So my thing would be, and I thought about this because I more or less defer to Michelangelo as the greater genius, but I think that Da Vinci may have been. The problem with Da Vinci was he never finished anything. His mind was so active. He's got so many great paintings that are left unfinished. He's got so many projects left unfinished, but his mind, it was all right. Whereas Michelangelo would start something, 4 years later, Sistine Chapel, David, the great works, he'd finish it. Whereas Da Vinci was come hither, come thither. He was all over the place. But I think they were called polymaths, which was a genius in everything. And I think I've often gone into Wikipedia, the greatest genius, and they don't take it either. They they give you Michelangelo and they give you Da Vinci, and I've yet to read someone taking a stance that one of them was a greater genius. And the other reason is that Michelangelo wasn't a very nice guy. He was secretive. He was he was very kind to his family, very wealthy in his day. He retired, and today he'd probably be a billionaire, but he took care of all his family and brothers and cousins. But Da Vinci was gay, but that's all right. I mean, no problems with that. and he was flamboyant, handsome, wore the latest styles. Michelangelo was threadbare. His room, he slept on a real cheap bed. And
Well, you just said Michelangelo slept on
he
a.
wasn't friendly to Da Vinci. They were contemporaries. Da Vinci was a bit older, but still, Da Vinci might have been 50 and Michelangelo was 30. And the one recorded conversation they had, actually recorded, Da Vinci was holding scrum on the street with people around. Well, Leonardo, blah, blah. And Michelangelo passed him. And he said, Michelangelo. Da Vinci did. And he said, he asked him the question. And Michelangelo abruptly turned around and said, Leonardo, you tell him, you got all the answers. That documented. He wasn't friendly. Anyone consider Raphael, he absolutely didn't like. He accused Raphael when he was painting the Sistine Chapel. He said, no one gets in. This is it. No one sees this before it's completed. And Raphael, if you look at the school of Athens with the figures, with Plato and all, he accused Raphael of going in late at night and looking at the Sistine Chapel, what he was doing. He didn't like anyone who threatened him.
Okay. Well, you just said Michelangelo took care of his family.
Yeah,
He
very wealthy.
threadbare,
Whereas
slept.
Da Vinci
Wait.
wasn't wealthy at all.
I know, but wealthy is no reason to hate the guy.
No.
If he took care of his family,
Yes.
just I don't get the and he slept. He didn't need a whole lot. He didn't
Very,
wear.
very
That
religious.
sounds like a humble guy to me.
Very religious too.
But outside of the religious, everybody.
He was humble, but I guess you could look at it from that point of view, like a Saint Francis of Assisi.
He looked down on his contemporaries.
Anything that I've read, Da Vinci comes across as a good guy, and Michelangelo. Well, Michelangelo's nose, if you see pictures of them that are painted, they're true, pretty accurate. One guy, I think his name is Torricelli, Michelangelo insulted him. And the guy, once again, recorded, turned around and suckered him and broke his nose, so much so that if you see pictures of Michelangelo, his nose is broken and you can tell it's broken. The guy hit him and bragged about it.
You know, I'm surprised didn't go on your list. Now, I'm into philosophy, so I would for sure have Plato, Socrates, or Aristotle on my list.
And neither one would probably be a bad choice. It's just that, and I love three of them too.
Maybe Socrates because he came first, and there's no actual. But you know, there's nothing. It's the only reason we know even who he is through Plato's writings, and after that, other people's. But he didn't write anything himself.
No, he dressed like they know that he wasn't a good looking guy, sort of whatever, homely looking guy, and he dressed but he dressed like a beggar. Dressed like never changed his clothes, but yeah, you all we have to do is to learn from is Plato. But Plato was pretty close to him.
All I know is that I know nothing. That's his most famous quote.
Yeah, and I think his other one was why not?
Oh yeah.
The question
why and then just why not?
And yeah, he's famous for that too.
Yeah, I mean, again, being into philosophy, I would and I mean, it's historical as much as it's philosophical, but you know, the beginning of universities and all that, and as we know them, I'm really intrigued more by Plato than any of them, really. But those that don't know, I didn't realize till I really got into it. That's Plato and Aristotle came after Socrates. He was almost like their student sort of thing. And then Plato, of course, had lots of students. Aristotle was one.
Alexander the Great, his tutor was Aristotle. Was his tutor.
Because Alexander the Great would be one that would be possible. I mean, this guy thought really like his.
He doesn't hold my imagination like Napoleon though, or Caesar. For some reason, maybe it's way before them or whatever, but. Yeah, of course, what he did, but I don't know. I'm not.
Two things that of all of that, I just watched the Alexander story too again on Netflix. It's pretty good. But two things that are wild: how he started he wanted people to have libraries. He wanted people, whereas a lot of other leaders didn't want anybody to have any knowledge whatsoever. Yeah, and it was the biggest in the world. And he also thought that women should be working more and get paid. Those two things back then. That is wild.
Was around. I think he died like 329 BC. Oh, the other guy I never said. I said Jesus, and he's always intrigued me. And there was no like Jesus. People can confuse. You got the Gospels, man. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They didn't even write them. They made this up. But when they got the writings of Tacitus and Josephus and Suetonius, these were historians at the time. That proves him. The man they call Christus was crucified today. They know he. But Pontius Pilate, they didn't. There was no okays in the Gospels. Don't.
For those that don't know, Pontius Pilate was the guy who basically put Jesus to death. He decided, yeah.
How they came across him, they proved there was a Pontius Pilate. They were doing an excavation. There was Pilate lived in a place called Caesarea Maritima, about 20 miles outside of Jerusalem, was on the coast, a mansion, whatever. And that's where he lived because it was more favorable climate, the winds from the Mediterranean. And they were doing an excavation of, they used to have these amphitheaters and whatever. And one of the workers saw a stone and turned it over. And on the stone, it said dedicated to Tiberius by Pontius Pilate, procurator of Judea. And that's how we know he existed.
And, and Pontius Pilate,
I'm fascinated by him, what went on. And like, if Jesus was Jesus and he condemned them, I don't know. He just,
Jesus,
I get a bum rap. They're like, did Pontius Pilate, did the Christians do up Pontius Pilate? Because wait a minute, he did away with our Savior, so we're putting a knife through him. Maybe none of what we read about him is true.
But he did, especially when there's only so much text available, and it could have been really twisted one way or the other.
He did have a reputation.
But wait, Senior, I got the mic. Well, go back.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I don't mind you talking. It's just I want people to be able to hear it. So just Jesus being a real person and being an incredible prophet.
Yeah.
I don't think. I think most people would agree on that, right? That part is
about him there. He changed the whole world. It's something I don't know. I've always wondered, this dude, man, like, say what you want, he changed the whole planet. Yeah. And it's still going, because at the time, like, I studied this in university. There was a guy called Simon Bar Kochba. He was a new Messiah. There were all kinds of messiahs going around saying, hey, we're waiting for the apocalypse. But this guy, they all went by the wayside. This guy stayed on.
Think of the things that we absolutely know about him, that he existed, and then he got put to death by. So if all that happened and he was really 33 years old, that would have had an impact on the lasting effect. This fucking guy, man, like, he literally took a bullet for it. Well, you know what I mean? Like, he went down. He's the ultimate.
For the cause.
Yeah, right. Senior, if you had to give up one of these things forever, red meat, beer, pasta, or hats?
Or what?
Hats.
Forever?
Forever. You can't ever eat red meat again, drink beer, pasta, or hats. They're all things that you like.
It's going to be beer.
Fucking live in Newfoundland. It's going to be tough with no hat.
Ever. Yeah, okay. I'm going to go down between pasta and meat, and spaghetti and meatballs is my favorite meal. But I got to have a hat. And I love red meat too. You know something? If it came down to it, I might be able to give up red meat. I wouldn't want to, and it's sort of
put chicken in your pasta if you wanted to have. I'm not asking. This is in no way any real dilemma. You eat what you fucking want.
Okay, I'll say red meat.
Tough one.
I love it and will never give it up. And I know red meat causes cancer and it kills you. Well, I'm 72, big deal. If I go, I go. That's the way it goes. I managed to live 72. I'm sort of happy with that. I want to go longer, but it's not so bad. My dad was dead at 53, so God love you, Dad.
Your dad died of, I always thought, liver cancer.
No, he never smoked a day in his life, healthy as you can be, a beautiful man, alcoholic, but not an abusive one. Drink his dozen, go to bed, go to sleep. Last 8 years of his life, no such thing as rehab. Then we had no money anyway. He couldn't go. Gave it up on his own. Very religious person. Didn't go to church every day, but came from a big Irish, 10 people, seventh son. Believed in the hereafter very strongly, I should say the adverb. And 8 years, gave it up perfectly. Never smoked a day in his life, dies of pancreatic cancer. So much so that when I went up to see him last week, Dad was dying, didn't want to see anybody. And I remember going in 3:00 in the morning. I went up and said, Mom, I'm going up to see Dad, because we were living just down from the hospital. Dad, the light was on the room, very, very turned down. And I'll never forget, I went in, Dad was there, and he said, Terry, couldn't speak. Terry. He had to whisper then. He never had enough energy. And I wanted to cry, but he said he didn't want any part of it. And he started to cough, and he was coughing up blood. And he said, Terry, can you give me the bowl? And I gave him the silver, the metallic bowl. And I looked at him. I said, Dad, am I supposed to learn something from it? And he looked at me and he said, Terry, tough break. Life goes on. I don't want to stick around. And he said, live a good life, die a holy death. I imprinted in my memory. And I started to lose it. And because I loved him more than anything, and he loved me more than anything. And he said, see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, Terry. See you tomorrow. Didn't want any part of it. And he died 2 days later. Pancreatic cancer. And I went to the doctor. I said, Doc, I don't get it, man. I said, Dad never smoked a day in his life. He never had a car. He walked to work. He said, Terry, unfortunately, the cancer that he has is inoperable and it's terminal. He said, your father has the heart and lungs of a 20-year-old. But he said, we can't. I said, I know, Doc.
How did it? It's weird that it's not in our family more. Like
No, but when I look
like
back,
you're 72. You've never had a hint. He was 53.
When I look back on it, it makes total sense. This was the days where you could smoke everywhere. You go into an
Pancreatic. What does that have to do with smoking? I can see lung.
goes in. Smoking causes all kinds of cancer. Dad was a maitre d' in a restaurant where everyone, if you went into I can remember this, you could go into a restaurant, there would be a cloud of smoke in the restaurant. Dad was walking around in that all day. And then it made sense to me. I said, Jesus, and secondhand smoke, the worst. It's worse than firsthand.
Well, it's funny because about
then it made sense.
remember in North America when it was only like 2004 that we shut down that.
Yes.
And I remember reading, like when I was in university, so I started in 2009, 5 years later, already the average age of life expectancy went up like 2 years because of the secondhand smoke that people, without even realizing, it's like if you're this old, chances are you have a better idea because everywhere you were on a plane, you were in a restaurant, anywhere you were. And I just missed that. You know what I mean? Like, well, I mean, I didn't miss it, but I was 20.
I can remember when we were in junior, we go into Maple Leaf Gardens, 16,000 people. Everyone can smoke. You want to smoke. By the end of the second period, you could see the huge, monstrous clock. You could see the smoke around it because everyone's smoking. It's going up to the top of the building.
I know, but when even then,
no one knew. It's through education. No one knew. Everyone, growing up, I come from a small town of 10,000 people in Grand Falls, Newfoundland, but I was one of the smallest percentages, the minority that didn't smoke. Yeah. Most of the guys I went to school with were smoking at 14. Hey, Terry, I'm getting a pack of smoke. Give me packs.
Totally accepted by everybody.
I didn't because Dad would tell me, Jerry, you don't smoke because it'll hurt you as an athlete. That's the only reason why I didn't smoke. It'll hurt, not about lung. It'll hurt you as an athlete. Dad didn't know, but that's what they said. And that's all my buddies smoked.
It is wild when you think of it like that. And but here's the thing. It's funny how immersed it was because I mean, geez, I remember really young, they were smoking on planes and stuff. Yes. But like even right now, like if you were to like there's it
can you imagine sitting?
It just seems ignorant to me, but it just was so accepted.
Sitting on a plane, and when they had the ashtrays, you'd haul the ashtray out in the armchair, the ashtray, going to Toronto, 3.5, and everyone around you smoking in a plane.
I just can't even not knowing that it caused cancer. I would think it's ignorant, but that's just because it would seem it now. Back then, it was so normal that it wasn't even. It's just that's part of the air that we breathe. It smells like this.
It was in vogue. Everyone did it. Everyone did it. It could be the guy sitting next to you. He pulling it and then lighting another one and putting it out in the ashtray in the side, the arm of the chair.
And one seat behind you, the non-smoking section. It's just all going back there.
It is what it is now, and it was what it was. That's the way I got. You couldn't change it. Then we didn't know. Through education, we did. We find out. Now, I saw the latest stat and I was shocked. Young people, I think it's down to 14% young people smoke, virtually annihilated. So the cigarette companies are, but they'll come up with something else. They did. They did. They got the vape. Hey, that's their business. Their billion-dollar business. There's people right now on the 65th floor in New York City sitting around a table saying, okay, what are we going to come out with? Well, the sales here in Asia are, that's the way it works.
Speaking of airplanes, you know what I saw for the first time the other day? The movie Airplane. Come on. Oh, God, you got it. I must have seen it.
Airplane.
The first one was 1980, and I'd seen it. I saw it in the 80s retroactively. I didn't know it was happening. I was 7. And Kirsty and I were here the other night. And I said, well, you know, what airplane? Maybe we, and she's like, yeah, I think I've seen it. But, you know, because you've seen these little clips and there's some famous lines. But anyway, I watched it start to finish.
People in them, too. Lloyd Bridges, he's in that. And a lot of them. But the guy,
Leslie Nielsen,
he made his name, of course, in that. And they're hilarious. You can say what you want.
Kareem Abdul's in there, too. I thought he was only in one scene. I didn't realize he's in half the movie. It's really funny. It's those haven't seen it. That's one. Some things come out. Sometimes comedy doesn't age well, and you're like, you don't really get the comedy. But I find that I think that exact movie could come out today, and you'd find it.
I remember one classic line. He's standing up, and he's the steward or something, isn't he? The pilot, and he's standing up, and something happened, and a passenger says to him, "Shirley, you can't believe that." And he says, "Oh, yes, I do." And by the way, don't call me Shirley.
Yeah. It is. That's the tip of the iceberg. But yeah, that's probably the one. Anyway, you know what, Senior? We've been going 45 minutes, and what I'd like to do between now and let's say next week.
You should have a shtick before you go. You name. I'm always thinking of it. 3 groups that fell through the tracks. For your listeners that fell through the tracks, because you can introduce and were never noticed, and people should at least listen to, because now with YouTube, you can go back to wherever you want.
I love how you cut me off to introduce the same idea. So what I was going to say,
I want my idea to be heard in front of yours.
Once in a while, I do that. But but I'd like to have. That's what I was going to say. In 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'll have you back. So either come up with some list. I like the top 10. Really, really think about the top 10 people that you'd like to meet. Just wait before, because there's one mic. Right, so just let me get a thought out, and then I'll pass the mic back to you. You're speaking as if the mic's here. So yes, Mike, because you're mad. Because people think that. So I don't know. I'm guessing they can't hear you as well when you're speaking right now.
Yeah, maybe.
So what I would like to do is maybe do some of these lists with you. So I would love to do that. Maybe we should do that together. You pick 3, and I'll pick 3. But I would like to get a definitive 10 that you want to meet. Okay, 10 people.
I've already given mine, though.
5 bands that you don't think, or songs. It can be a song or a band.
Yeah.
It can be a song or a band. You can go Brandy or Fine Girl, because there's not a whole lot by The Looking Glass.
No, but people would know those songs. They didn't necessarily. I'm talking about people that never really had a hit, but you know of. I've heard their music saying, how did this group not make it?
True. I like the odd time people know the song.
A hit, you made it.
Yeah, but you lose the audience if it's all stuff that they've never heard. Trust me.
Okay.
So you might say to someone going, "Oh, well, Brandy be go. I've heard that. Oh, The Looking Glass. I think a lot of people would know Brandy. I don't think they would have any idea who The Looking Glass are. Now, there's probably deeper than that. You could probably go with, oh God, one of my favorites, the Grassroots. Say, there's one that I think a lot of people probably wouldn't know that have a few hits. Well, anyway,
They had over 20 hits. Everyone would know the Grassroots. I think
you're wrong.
Maybe not kids today. But people my age, wow, yeah.
Your age, but even kids my age is in the middle, and I don't know if a whole lot.
Well, they had 20 odd. They were huge.
Yeah, so there you go. So maybe we do that. Now, I'm just spitting off the top of my head. We can do whatever we want. 2 weeks from now, you're going to be back here. 5 songs or bands.
You've got an Australian audience because I follow it. The only song that I know, and I love it, by the Easy Beats, Friday on My Mind. I don't know anything else. They're from Australia. The 2 guys in the group, Vanda and Young, one of them was in the group for sure, went on to manage his 2 brothers, were the Young brothers, in AC/DC.
First of all, Who's talking about? Who's talking about Australia? What do you mean?
No, I thought you had.
You're just coming up with facts now, and you want to spit them out. So save this.
No, but didn't I
Okay,
thought
so
that
Easy Beats would be one of the things I'm talking about. Save it for 2 weeks from now.
Can they hear this in Australia? Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you know, I got to.
Yeah. So I brought up the Easy Beat because they know them in Australia.
See, there's got to be more from Australia.
No, that's the only song I know by them. But they must be.
You must know other bands from Australia.
Oh, of course, but by the I think the
Aren't Men at Work from there? No.
Yes.
They got a song about it, but aren't they from there?
Yeah.
I know AC/DC were, but AC/DC were from both, right? They lived in England and Australia, or am I wrong?
If you get down to it, the Bee Gees came over from Australia, but they're more identified with British. They moved to Manchester, I think. But
who else would be from Australia?
Well, AC/DC. I think Olivia Newton-John.
I'm trying to take off, and you keep bringing up. I've started the outro 3 times, and you keep bringing up the Easy Beats. Right. This is what we're talking about in 2 weeks from now.
But I'm scattershot. That's the way my brain works. I'm scattershot.
Well, I am as well. So
apologies for it, because that's just the way my mind works.
Are Jet from there?
Yeah, they are. I know them.
Jet are from there. Okay.
They are. Yeah. Now I couldn't name you one song by them, but I bet they're huge in Australia. I couldn't name you one song.
I could. Are You Gonna Be My Girl? It's a great tune. Bands from Australia. Midnight fucking Oil.
Oil, of course. Beds Are Burning. Yes, Peter. I think Grant.
That was on my mind. Beds Are Burning.
Lawyer, ex-lawyer. Well, maybe still is. He's big into ecology, but he's a lawyer. About 6'8".
In excess.
Whom I didn't like at all, but they were huge. Yeah, didn't like them at all.
Air Supply? I didn't know they were from Australia.
I did. Okay, I'd come up with certainly some of them. Yeah, Air Supply, and I sort of like them.
Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
I never got into him, and he's massive in Australia, and I think he's massive in England. But I couldn't name you one.
He's like in every second Uncut magazine, and he's been dead. I'm like, how good is this guy? No, I went back. He's all right. Look, he's really good. I'm just not
Johnny Cash, and his songs are all dark. A lot of them are dark.
The Seekers,
of course, one of my all-time favorite groups. Judith.
Wow, I'm surprised. I didn't know they were from there.
I would have got it. Judith Durham. Yeah, I loved her absolutely. My favorite Seeker song, Georgie Girl, and The Carnival Is Over, the saddest song of all time. I well up. I get emotional every time I hear it. About a girl who meets a carny at a carnival, and they both. It's like fell in love probably over a week or whatever. And she says, like a drum, my heart is beating. The carnival is over. I will love you till I die. And even as I say it, I well up, because even in the car, I talk to your mother. It's so sad because someone in the world is experiencing that now. Yeah. And I find it so sad. I get emotional now. The words.
I agree. It's really.
Carnival is
over. I was surprised you didn't say right off the hop. I didn't know they were from there. I wouldn't have known who they were if you didn't have their shit.
It's Upbeat is my favorite, but they had it out about 10. Morningtown Ride, about the train whistle blowing, makes a sleepy noise. The children. It's just a great group, and she left them because she met a guy. She fell in love with him, went on her own. And
the Little River Band. I thought they were. I thought they were from fucking Oklahoma somewhere.
No, my God, yeah. Oh, I love them. My 2 favorites. The Other Guy, and the Lonesome Loser, my 2 favorite. Reminiscing. Oh my God,
Lonesome Loser is my favorite.
20. Yeah. Oh yes, Little River Band. His name was Glenn Sharrock over there. That was the lead singer.
Crowded House. Didn't know they were from there either.
Yeah, I knew that. I'm not a big fan of them though.
No, but anyway.
Other than their big hit, da 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 da. Hey now, don't run it.
Dream it's over.
Yeah. That's a beautiful song. But Finn brothers, 2 Finns. I think that was his name. They were.
So anyway, maybe we'll have there you go, an inadvertent shout out to Australia as we go. So we're gonna have Senior back in 2 weeks. We're gonna do Senior 5 bands or songs associated with a band that you guys might not know that you might like, that might shed some light onto your music knowledge henceforth. So here we go. Senior, do you have anything else to say?
No, other than I hope all your listeners out there had a Merry Christmas and will have a Happy New Year. And, let's hope that all these wars are over and the world becomes sane. That's St. Francis of Assisi taking hold.
Wow. The world peace request. I didn't expect to hear it. Anyway, you never know. Folks, thanks for listening. If you're downtown St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, why not visit the Bull and Barrel? Why not visit the Martini Bar, Rob Roy Confusion, Greensleeves, and of course, Trinity Pub? Why not go? If you're hungry, why not hit Blue on Water, Loose Tie, and of course, Wedgwood Cafe, who also do catering. They're right there on Elizabeth Avenue. Peter Wedgwood, Wedgwood Cafe. Strength and balance for the body and mind. Look no further than Ryan Power at Power Conditioning, which is on Rope Walk Lane. You want to work out? Hit Ryan Power. Strength and balance, body, mind. If you want to go to Mr. Lube, there's 2 locations right here in St. John's, capital city, Torbay Road, Kenmount Road. Live, laugh, lube. Check out the Carpet Factory while you're at it. Muggsy jeans. I loves me Muggsy jeans. They're so comfy. They're so fitting. True Hockey. Take what's yours. Get out there, True Hockey. Get some True Hockey sticks, some True Hockey gear. They treat me well. Thank you to Corey Gregory and everybody at the True Hockey family. Really appreciate it, you guys. And, of course, check out Crown Cabinets right here in the city. Jordan Escott and Crown Cabinets. Great guy, great product. Crown Cabinets right here in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. Folks, thanks for tuning in. Tales with TR. We're back just a couple of days with more stories.